Woods and Waters with your host, Bud Leavitt.
Thank you very much, and welcome to 1991, or whatever the year is. Well, you know, we start a new season tonight, a new schedule of programs. Tell you about it. But coming on tonight, prior to having the lights put on and this marvelous crew here that I've worked with now for 10 years, I was thinking, you know, I started in this business of television in 1952. Those are the days of black and white. It was the old Hildreth Network, and Chevron gasoline had us on for years, and so many wonderful things happened in all that period of time. And then about 10 years ago, I started with MPBN, and on reflection tonight as we start this new season, and I'll tell you about it momentarily, I've been just thinking how wonderful this great audience is. I did a lot of fooling around this summer, did some fishing in far off and distant places, and I keep thinking of various incidents about the viewing audience of MPBN. I was in Nova Scotia, in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and one of the incidents that I enjoyed telling, I was having breakfast at 5 o'clock in the morning in the Holiday Inn with Bobby Orr, the hockey legend. In Canada, he's a true hero. Well, there was a dear old lady mopping up the floor, and we were waiting for our ride down to the pier, and this lady come by, and Bobby's reading the Toronto Star or Blade or whatever it was, and I am also. He's reading hockey news, and we're having coffee. And the lady comes over and goes right by Bobby and says, Mr. Leavitt, can I have your autograph? And I said, certainly. And I was chuckling all the way down, and she had no idea that this was the great Bobby Orr sitting across the table. So I gave her my autograph and wished her well and sent her along the way. And then there was another incident to tell you the power and the loyalty of this great following who has followed Woods and Waters all these years. I had a knee operation in California. My daughter took me to the hospital at 5:30 in the morning because the surgeons wanted me in the OR at 6 o'clock. Well, they got me all prepared and had me down in the Johnny and had me strapped to one of those wheels that they take you in the operating room on. And this fella come in and gave me a charge in the right rear fender here. And of course I went to sleep. But prior to being wheeled into the OR, I could hear a voice. And there was a voice in the back of the room that says, I know that guy. We couldn't have our beans on Saturday night. My mother and father wouldn't let us have them until he got off TV. I know him. Well, I thought I was having illusions, so they did the knee job. And that afternoon, the surgeon, Dr. Graf Radford, come up to see me, and I said, did somebody speak to me or said they knew me when just prior to going into the OR, going into the opera? Yes, he said, Charlie. And I said, Charlie. He said, oh, I don't know. He's been around 8 or 9 years. Well, I said, send him up, will you? He said, how you feeling? I said, I'm feeling fine. He said, he watched you on television for years. And I said, really? No, I'm 3,000 miles from home. About 2 o'clock or so, shortly thereafter, this nice-looking fella came into the room, and he said, Mr. Leavitt? And I said, yeah. He said, I'm Charlie. I'm Charlie Sear. And I said, where do you come from? He said, Madawaska. And I said, Madawaska? And here you are out in California in a hospital. Yeah, I recognize you. He said, when they took you in for you to do the knee work on you. Well, I had a daily visitor. But there were other instances this summer. People who have watched Woods and Waters and who were kind enough to come up and tell me. Salt Lake City, I had a couple of ladies come up and they were on their way east, and they said they were looking forward to watching Woods and Waters this fall. I met them in Bozeman, Montana, a couple from Camden, who said faithfully they watch MPBN, and when the occasion demanded it, why, on Thursday nights they would watch Woods and Waters. So this great audience that we have here at MPBN, I'm ever grateful for. And all these years that we've been doing television, and my experiences, a lady I was interviewed recently by a person, and she wanted to know about some television experiences, and I said, you know, back in the days of black and white, I did the first basketball play-by-play game ever put on television on WABI in Memorial Gymnasium at Orono. Of course, there was no press table or anything. We had to walk back and forth in the top row, look down on the court. And as a matter of fact, I also did the first color show in the area back in the days of Channel 5, and the general manager of MPN here, Ed Winchester, I think I was scheduled to go on the air at 6:30, at 6:20. They were still fooling with this big monster of a camera, and he said, we'll make it, we'll make it. We went on the air anyway, following that theme that's now become quite well known. And I was so amazed at the beauty of, here was this handsome guy in color. I couldn't keep my eyes off the monitor. So I tell you all of those things leading up to what we're going to do this year. We're on for an hour the first Thursday of each and every month. We won't be on weekly. We'll have an hour tonight, and you're going to be invited to participate. Hopefully, the MPBN family, you people interested in the various activities that we try to bring you, hopefully we will have guests that will be of interest to you. I must tell you tonight, though, we're starting in slow gear, because one of my guests, Bernie Hawks, was scheduled to be up here from Bar Harbor, but he didn't make it tonight, and he's been advertised to show. And the reason he didn't make it, he says he has laryngitis. Not so. That never stopped Bernie from talking. But the real reason is, I understand he was at Kibo today trying to straighten out his slice, and he's only 81 years old, so he was really practicing. But he will be on with us at a later date. But scheduled to be with us, and properly so, is a woman that I've admired for years, and with good reason, and I think you will after you've met her. Mrs. Bud Applegate of Bar Harbor, Jennifer Applegate. And this woman is a girl of extraordinary ability. Anyone that has ever participated in a search and rescue operation knows this woman. Jennifer, good to have you here.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Is it?
Yes.
Huh?
I've looked forward to it.
Have you really?
Yes.
I look forward to having you on. Tell me about Jennifer Applegate. When you were a little girl, you were born in Upper New York. What part of New York?
Troy, New York.
Troy. Tell me about the day you were riding along with your mom and saw all the automobiles beside the road.
Oh, my mother and I were on our way to Troy to do some shopping, and we passed this area that had cars lined on both sides of the road. And I said, Mom, what are all these cars for? Because we lived way out in the country. She said, oh, there's a hunter lost up on the mountain. And we knew the area. We hiked it all the time. And I said, let's stop and help him. My mother says, oh, no, they wouldn't want a woman to help them. Of course, that was back in 1956, back when women didn't do those things. And I guess I logged that back in my mind. And she also said, gee, I wish I had a good German Shepherd trained to find lost people. I logged that back in my brain, too. And 30 years later, I have 2 German Shepherd search dogs.
And that's how you got interested in the dog?
I think that's how I did it.
Tell me about, let's see, you went to Wyndham College.
Right.
In Vermont, and you came to Maine. Your husband Bud works at the Jackson Memorial Lab.
Right.
And what happens when you're in bed and you get these calls at all hours of the day and night? There's someone lost.
Oh, I get up and answer the phone, take down all the information, take my uniform out of the closet, which immediately alerts the dogs that we're going. And if he doesn't wake up, I'll leave him a note telling him where I've gone and what's going on, and he takes over. If it wasn't for him, I couldn't do this. We have 4 boys, one who's now in college. But if he didn't take over the household, I couldn't be doing this.
How'd you happen to get these? There's Sheba. What's the name of the other dog?
Oh, this is the black and tan Greta, and the dark
Greta.
one is Allie.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Tell me, did you buy them as pups?
Both of them, yes, as 8-week-old puppies.
And where did you buy them? From what litter?
Greta came from Suki Kennel down in Warren, and I called Jerry one day and I told him I wanted a dog for tracking. He said, "What for?" And I said, "For search and rescue." And he said, "No, you want an air scent dog." And I said, "Oh, tell me more about an air scent dog." And after he told me, I said, "Okay." And he said, "Well, I've got a little puppy down here I think will fit the bill." And he was right. She's been a wonderful search dog. The second dog, Allie, is out of the von Hofstre kennel in Aurora, Debbie Paulman's kennel.
Oh, yeah.
Her mother's a warden
Debbie's
service
a game
canine.
warden, in case you're interested and you're out there in the bush tonight. Go ahead.
Her mother's a warden service canine, so I knew how her mother worked. And I had met the father down in New Hampshire. So when Deb had this litter of puppies, I wanted one. So I got her as an 8-week-old pup.
And how did you start the training program?
Oh, the training program is very simple to start, actually. It's very basic. Once you've bonded with your puppy and it loves you and it doesn't want to be separated from you, you have someone hold it and you run into the woods or out of sight. And the person holding the puppy then says, "Go find her," and lets the puppy go. Well, puppy's going to do everything it can to get to you. And you work up to a point at which the puppy has to use its nose to locate you. You'll move in such a way when you're hiding so that it has to use its nose. And then it'll start finding you. It'll start finding family members, people it's friendly with, and you work up to total strangers. And then you make the problems more complex as you go along.
Mm-hmm. There are a couple of little boys your dogs are in on recovery. Tell me about case 1.
Oh, there was a 2.5-year-old that was being babysat by a lady at the Russell Farm Road in Bar Harbor, which is a dead-end road, and it opens up onto a power line and then some swampy area behind it. And the lady had left this child outside. She knew exactly where he was playing, and she went in to tend to one of the other children, and she was gone a very short period of time, and when she came back, this child was gone. So of course she called her husband, she called Bar Harbor PD, they called the warden service, and Bar Harbor called me. I went out with Greta, and I'd never used her in tracking, but it just opened up into this vast territory which we had no idea which direction this child had taken. So I took the child's pants and turned them inside out, so the only scent she could get would be his. And I knew exactly where the woman said he'd been sitting, and I said, "Greta, find him." And I pointed at the ground, and she took the track. And she started tracking him along the edge of the house, past the tool shed, just like a child would go. And when she hit the meadow, then you could see the grass was pushed over in the direction of travel. And while she was sorting out down in the woods every place that he had gone, the rest of the members of the search party rushed on ahead of us, and they did recover him off the embankment of a sand pit.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about that second case. You had an infant, there was another infant.
Oh, the 2.5-year-old this spring. I must say the reason I was able to find him was the good training that the warden service has given to the volunteers. And I went out with the mother from where the child had last been seen. And I had Greta with me, but the wind was wrong at that point to use her. And I found his footprint in the mud. So I knew the direction he'd gone in. He was headed towards the Crooked Road in Bar Harbor, and there was an officer on the Crooked Road. So I knew if he came out on the road, he'd probably see him. And we continued towards the Crooked Road, and then we could hear him crying. And he'd gotten his foot stuck in some rocks. Every time he tried to pull his foot out, his boot was coming off. And he didn't want to lose the boot, so he put his foot back down. He was one very unhappy little boy that he was losing his shoe. And his mother was one very happy lady that she had her child back.
I should say so.
He probably was only gone 45 minutes, but it was a long 45 minutes for the family.
You had a young woman lost on the mountain this year, climbing Cadillac. Give me the details behind that search.
Oh, she was a Park Service employee that was going to go up Cadillac and return to her car just in an afternoon hike. And her housemate reported her overdue. And her car was found parked at the Cannon Brook trailhead. Well, because I hike Acadia a lot, I knew that if she'd come down the Cannon Brook Trail, she either missed the cairns and had lost the trail, or she had fallen. And if she missed the cairns, she was just out there somewhere and we'd find her. And if she'd fallen, I knew we had a big problem on our hands. And one of the rangers and myself and Greta went up and we made voice contact with her.
What time of night was this now?
It was probably 11 o'clock at night when we caught up with her. So she'd been out there since darkness, which at that point was probably 8:30, 8:45. And she had just hunkered down next to a log, had taken her t-shirt and put it on her legs because she had shorts on, and had gotten down inside her sweatshirt, had taken off her wet socks, and was just going to wait for daybreak. And actually, she wasn't that far from the trail.
Did the dog pick the scent up?
No, we made voice contact with her before.
Made voice contact before.
And as soon as she spoke, then Greta went right over to her. She had to cross 2 brooks to get to her. But
interesting thing. The Bar Harbor Maine Search and Rescue Dogs. Now, these are the people who belong. Jennifer Applegate, our guest. Kate Fleury of Whitneyville. Warden Deborah Paulman. Beth Swartz of Hamden. Sarah Robinson of Steuben. Larry and Mary Winchester of East Holden. Say there was an emergency tonight, and there was a call for you, or a call for a search and rescue team. Where do these people come from, and how do they get there, and what's the procedure?
Usually the warden service will call Debbie or me first, and we'll use a phone tree. And probably if I called right now, I could get at least half of them on the road in 15 minutes in their own vehicles with their own dogs, headed for wherever the warden said the search was staging from.
Who funds this?
We fund ourselves. We do our own fundraising. We get donations. We'll do programs. The Find a Space, Show Your Face programs will go into schools, and oftentimes the PTAs will give us a small amount of money as a thank you. We go to the senior citizens and nursing homes. We'll go and do a program wherever we're asked to.
This is all volunteer, friends. All volunteer, this service. Now, what's your relationship with the inland wardens and coastal wardens, if need be?
We have a wonderful working relationship with the game wardens, particularly in the Bangor and the Down East area, because they're very familiar with us. We don't have the same relationship in the southern part of the state, probably because they don't know us yet. They'll call, and we always go out. We usually can field at least 3 people immediately, 3 people and their dogs. But we have a very, very good working relationship with them, and with the Marine Patrol. On 2 occasions, they've given us transportation to the outlying islands so that we could search an island. There was reason to believe someone may have gotten away from a boat and gotten on the island, a sinking boat. This past February, we did the sister islands off of Swans Island. A boat had gone down in the cable area, and they thought there was a chance that the fellows on the boat might have made it to one of the islands. So they got us out there and landed us on the island. We spent the afternoon searching.
There was a member of the clergy got into an accident. Tell me how that dog reacted to that hunt.
Oh, a priest from New York was reported overdue by the motel he was staying at. He was a person that followed a pattern, and he didn't return one evening from his daily hike, and they reported him overdue, and the park rangers found his vehicle parked at the pumping station at the end of Long Pond, and they immediately staged the search. And we'd had some really bad weather that night. We'd had some thunderstorms, and darkness came very early, and the whole of the Mount Desert Island Search and Rescue team turned out, plus 2 dog handlers that were myself and another girl were living on the island at the time. And Greta and I were assigned the Mansell Mountain Trail, the perpendicular trail. And partway up, there's a rocky face right
What time of night was this?
Oh, this was 1 o'clock in the morning. And there's a rock face right along the trail, and then it drops off and then goes very steep down towards the lake. And we were just hiking up through, and all of a sudden Greta alerted. And an alert is when their head goes up and they're really working with their nose, trying to locate this scent that they're picking up. And she dropped off the trail, tried to follow the scent up and couldn't. And she made like 5 passes back onto the trail and back off. And then she stood there and looked at me and just whined, like, I know it's here and I can't find it. So I called it into the command post and told them what the dog did and what the direction of the wind was at that point. And they plotted it on the map. And the next morning at daybreak, they sent a ground team into that general area. And by 8:30, they had his body. And the theory is that he was overcome by darkness and may have tried to bushwhack down to the lake following the light from a cabin on the lake and fell.
Jennifer Applegate is my program guest, and if you'd like to talk to Jennifer, by all means call in and we'll take your calls. Do you find this fascinating?
I find it fascinating, yes, because it's the ultimate mystery. Someone is out there. Where are they? And what did they do to get where they are? I think I'd like to have been a detective. I've also been able to go to parts of the state. I have a reason to go to parts of the state that I wouldn't normally get to go to. I always wanted to hike the Kennebec River, or a portion of it, just to get down near it. And we had a search at the Forks a couple of years ago, and I was able to do that. I thought, this is great. I'm searching for someone, but yet I'm getting to do something that I wanted to.
And this all goes back to an automobile ride with your mother when you were age 10.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And my love of the dogs. And I like being out in the woods.
When you go in the woods, what do you bring for equipment? Do you have a little pack sack?
I have a backpack. Yeah. I always carry water. I always carry enough water for myself and for the dogs. Most of the time in Maine, you're going to find water for the dogs, but there are those times that you don't, and they have to have it. And of course, humans do too. I always carry, now this time of year, now I would start to carry a hat, a pair of mittens or gloves, an extra jacket or a wool sweater, maybe a dry pair of socks, a means by which to start a fire.
All right, Hulse Cove, your question. Come in. Good evening.
Good evening, Bud. I'm wondering if Miss Applegate could tell us a little bit more about her dogs.
Tell you a little more about her dog. I know she's going to have a tough time to do that. They want to know a little more about your dogs.
More about the dogs. Well, Greta, my older dog, is a combination of West German and American breeding. She's very easily trained. She's a very sensitive dog. And she's very deliberate in her work. She doesn't move fast, but she works hard. And she's always taking things in and investigating things. Allie is the result of a breeding of a West German working female and an East German working female. I guess with the wall down, we don't have that anymore. But at the time, they were green card carriers, the mother and the father. She is very high-powered, has a lot of prey drive, likes to chase sticks, moves through the woods fast, has a lot of stick-to-itiveness when she's hunting for something. If I throw a stick off into the bushes, she'll work until she finds it. But she likes to do everything fast, and I think that comes from that German breeding.
Come in. Where are you calling from? Bro?
Bud?
Yes.
Yes, this is Jack Steiger.
Hi, Jack. How are you?
How are you?
Good, sir.
I have a question for Jennifer.
All right.
I want to know if she's done any work with her dogs in training for looking for drugs. I know Jennifer from years past, and I just wondered if she has done any of that type of work.
All right. She's ready for this one.
No, I haven't. Allie has enough ball drive that she would be a good drug dog. But because I am not in a law enforcement situation other than my part-time employment with the U.S. Customs Service, I'm not able to participate in that as much as I'd really like to.
Your question. Where are you calling from? Hello? Yes? Wherever you're calling from, we're not hearing you. Do people come to you? Are they frightened of these dogs?
Sometimes. When the dogs are working in the field, when they're searching, they wear fluorescent orange vests made out of the same 10-mile cloth that the hunter orange jackets are made out of. And it says SAR canine on them or something of that nature, MESARD, something, for a number of reasons. One, we can see them better when they're running through the woods, of course in the daytime. Two, if someone's lost and disoriented, if a dog comes up to them that's wearing a jacket, we hope that they're going to suddenly think, this dog must have a purpose for being here, because dogs don't normally wear jackets. And hopefully they won't be shot by a hunter.
Your call. Where are you calling from?
I heard this lady talking about Swans Island,
Yes, sir.
and I'm just the other side. I'm over Frenchboro.
All right.
And would it pay? I know it would pay. I'm sorry about, I shouldn't say it wouldn't pay, but if we had a dog that we could do that with on Frenchboro?
On Frenchboro.
Yes.
All right. If you had a dog like that on the island, permanently stationed there, is that your question?
Yes, sir, because there's a lot of people that take a right turn when they're supposed to be taking a left turn.
Yes, I can understand that.
And
All
there's
right.
a lot of ledges.
All right. Would it pay to have a dog on an island like Frenchboro, trained for this?
If there was someone out there that had the dog that was capable of doing it and wanted to do it, and if I don't know what kind of call they have for it out there, but certainly it would pay. Cuts down search time quite often. I don't know how many people get lost on Frenchboro. I would imagine there's areas that it happens frequently.
All right, your question. Good evening. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I was wondering, Jennifer explained the breeds of the dog. I would like to know how long it took to train them. I understood how she did train them, but how long before they would be working dogs, and how old are the dogs?
Okay, Greta will be 8 in November. Allie is 2.5. Greta's certified at 11 months. Now that doesn't mean that she was a polished search dog, but that meant that she was mission ready and could do certain problems in certain areas. They're always learning. They're always learning additional things. We set up problems so it's more difficult for them. We hide people in trees. We hide people in brush piles, in debris. We're always giving them a new problem, something new that they can learn that, oh, somebody might be here. Allie is 2.5. She hasn't yet certified, primarily because I haven't pushed her. I have a working dog, so I haven't really pushed that hard with her. I think she could probably pass the certification test at this point.
Now, if you put someone up in a tree and she's scenting, will she come to the foot of that tree and stop when she loses scent there?
It depends on where she picks up the scent, because of course, as we sit here right now, we're dropping 50,000 scent cells a minute, and it's being carried around by the air handling system in this building. Well, out there, winds are a little bit steadier, so it might all bank against other trees in the area, and it takes them a little while, but then suddenly they realize that it's coming from above. And I've seen Allie in particular get right up on her hind legs to get more of that scent, and eventually she'll have her feet right up against the tree and she'll just look up there and say, I see you.
Your question. Good evening.
Hello, yes, Mr. Leavitt.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, this is Sharon Birmingham, and I don't know if you remember you or not, but I used to come to my aunt and uncle's sporting camps in Chamberlain Lake.
Oh,
Nugent?
gosh. Yes, I sure
Alan
do.
and Patty Nugent.
Yeah.
And I can remember one time, you're talking about dogs saving lives. My brother was down on the wharf, and they had a dog named Billy. And he was sitting down there while my little brother was fishing, and he jumped in, and he had no training whatsoever. But he jumped in and saved my brother.
At Nugent's?
Right, Nugent's in Chamberlain Lake.
Huh.
And I remember when you used to come in there
Yeah.
with your family years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a long time ago.
Right.
Well, the
But
Nugents.
they were talking about dogs saving people's lives, and I heard this on there, and I just want to comment on that.
Well, thank you very much. Where are you at now?
I live in Vesey right now.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and I'm her. Of course, they're both passed away.
Well,
But we're talking about
right.
dogs saving lives, and I remember years ago we used to come into the sporting camps
that's right.
at Chamberlain Lake.
A long time ago and many
Right,
times.
right.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good evening. Where are you calling from? Hello? Well, we got a busy line that time. I'm sure everybody has a favorite dog story, and I bet you've heard a million of them. Now, there's a case right there, Nugent Sporting Camps at Chamberlain Lake, back when Al and Patty ran the camps, and I remember that dog, Billy, because whatever Nuge said, Billy would do. And he was a mongrel, as I remember, but I'd never heard of him saving a life off that wharf up there.
I wonder if he had any Newfie blood in him.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Do you get good support, public support? I mean, from beyond your group that does this voluntarily and so forth? I mean, are they supportive with you when they see you people working with the wardens and the police officers and everybody involved in a search like this?
Oh, I think they are. You know, they're entranced by the dogs. People love dogs. And they'll come over and talk to us and say, oh, you people are doing really good work here. And, you know, it's nice. And we go to the Sportsman Show. We've had a booth for 2 years
Yeah.
at the Sportsman Show, and people come by and talk to us and ask us about
Come
it.
in with your question. Yes, sir.
Hi, how you doing, bud?
Good, thank you.
This is Larry calling you from Orrington.
Yes, sir.
I helped put in that little sun porch you got on the front of your house
Oh,
there.
yeah.
I hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I am, when it doesn't rain.
Yeah, is this an open forum?
Yeah, what do you have to say?
Well, I'm just kind of wondering, what do you think about this new Blaze Orange law?
The Blaze Orange law. Well, that's a little apart from having Jennifer Applegate here. The statistics support it 100%. Wherever the Blaze Orange law has been applied, you're talking about the two pieces necessary on the body, right? Is that what you mean?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, you know, when they first put it in, I perhaps had several hundred letters from people. I'm going to wear my green and black jacket. I'm going to wear my red checkered one. I'm not going out in the woods looking like somebody's clown.
Yeah.
But look what's happened to our safety record. In the days of the 50s, when we had 70 accidents, 73 one year, in fact. 24, 25 fatals during the hunting season.
Yeah.
2 years ago, we had 0. We had a couple, I guess, last year and 2 the year before. The best test for me with Blaze Orange is to be taking a ride someday in the bush, say in the blueberry country. I think, for example, of taking a ride in on Township 29 off Route 9. And looking far off in those plains down there, and as far as you could possibly see, even with field glasses or without them, there was a hunter walking along the perimeter, the edge of the forest there, wearing Blaze Orange. Never would have been seen in 100 years on that kind of a day without Blaze Orange. So I don't want to debate the issue with you, only to tell you that statistically, the Blaze Orange has been a lifesaver for hunting and a lifesaver for a lot of people.
Bud, there's no debate about it. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But I heard somewhere that there's a group of people that want to go into the woods in earth tone type clothing during hunting season and reclaim their right to
yeah, that's
nature
right.
hike.
That's right. They were going into Montville at the game refuge down there last weekend.
Yeah.
But if they wish to do it that way, why, that's their business. They're right.
Well, don't you feel they're asking for trouble?
I certainly think that they are taking a foolish chance. Yes, I do.
Thank you
But
very
I-
much, Bud.
You bet.
Yep.
All right, your question. Let's get back on the dogs. Hello?
Yes, congratulations, Bud, on your 10th year.
Thank you
I've
very
enjoyed
much.
your show immensely.
Thank you very much.
Regarding the search and rescue, I'm astounded to find that it's funded completely by voluntary contribution. Where would one send a contribution or donation to this group?
I'm sure Jennifer is well tuned to the possibilities of that. Jennifer, you might tell them.
We have a new treasurer presently. It's Keith Heverin from Harborside.
I'll give it to you right here. I just happen to have the address. Who is it? Chip, Keith Heverin, Heavrin, Route 1, Box 13, Harborside, Maine, 04642.
Well, thank you, and with hunting season coming on, I much appreciate them having some money in advance and not sitting out in the woods waiting to see whether or not they had enough money to find me.
Well, that's nice of you.
Good
And
enough.
a
Thank
great
you,
group of people. These are a great group of people. And here's the list of them. Their phone numbers, where they are, their telephone numbers, state police numbers, car numbers, and, this month and next month, there won't be a night, there won't be a single night in any of the 3 or 4 warden headquarters that we have in the state that they won't be receiving from 15 to 30 calls of people out for the night. That doesn't necessarily mean they're lost, but they didn't turn in as they should have that night, and some anxious mother or wife or sister or daughter has called the wardens and they're notified. And these people are at the ready at all times, and they don't get a nickel even for their gasoline to go to the hunting site, the search site. So that's very nice of you to say that. Thank you. Hello, where are you calling from?
Hi, Bud. I'm calling from Scarborough, Maine.
Scarborough, yes, sir.
I have a dog question for you.
For me?
Yeah. On the opening scene of your introduction to your program, there's
Yeah.
a very handsome pointer. Perhaps you could tell us who the dog is and what your experiences were.
I don't want to do that for a reason. I'd be glad to do that. You drop me a note and I'll tell you. Fella never wanted his dog mentioned because he would be bothered, he said, by telephone calls and letters, and he's very reluctant to answer any damn mail, is the way he puts it. So if you write me a note, I'll write and answer it back and tell you whose dog it is.
Okay, thank you much.
All right. Your question, where are you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm calling from Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Yes, my husband and I are just reopening our sporting camps. And
Are you?
this has
Where?
absolutely intrigued me
Where?
that there is this wonderful rescue and search unit out here that we have available to us.
Mm-hmm.
We're up on Bagley Mountain in North Lincoln.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to have the name and telephone number. I was a little bit late getting to the program, so that I can have this information available in the event that we should have someone that we have to call upon their services.
Let me ask Jennifer, if I gave them your address publicly here, would that be all right by you? I don't want to flood you with mail.
Well, there is a process to follow if you know of someone who is lost in the woods or in the inland waters, and that is that you call the Warden Service.
Right.
They are legislated to be the ones in charge. So they will then in turn call us.
Oh. In other words, notify the warden, and they in turn will call these people if you need
Right.
help. Thank you very much. All right, Albion, your question.
Yes, Bud. My name is Joel Favor. I'm from Albion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a comment about the gentleman that called earlier about non-hunters exercising their rights in the woods. I know Massachusetts and other states have, like, hunter harassment laws. Do you know if there is one in Maine or?
I don't want to get into that tonight,
No.
really. Yeah, there are laws, harassment and so forth, but that's a subject that totally a part of the tone and the tone of this program.
Mm-hmm.
We've got these people who think that by going out and pounding tin cans, playing harmonicas, doing everything, playing rock music out there, enough to scare any decent bird anyway, but yeah, and I suspect that we'll have laws with respect to harassment in hunting areas that'll make it prohibitive to do that. But
Okay.
I don't want to get into that tonight.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Next, hello. Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes,
Hi.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Wayne from Cornville.
Yes. How are
Hey,
things
you
in
know,
Conville tonight?
It's a little chilly.
A little chilly.
Yeah.
Oh boy, it's warm down here. Go ahead. What can I do for
Well,
you?
first of all, I got a CD Shepherd coming in December, and I'd like Miss Applegate to explain It's from Germany, and I'd like to have her explain that. Plus, I'd like to go off form a little bit. Where are all the gray squirrels?
All right, first, a CD.
I'm not sure what he means by a CD
What do you
German
mean
Shepherd
by a
from
CD?
Germany.
Yeah.
Does he mean the companion dog of the AKC obedience trials?
Are you still there, Conville?
Yep.
Did you hear me? Did you hear Jennifer's question? Explain
Yes, I
it. What do
did.
you mean by CD?
Well, it's supposed to be basically a guard dog. I don't know what CD means, though.
I don't either. I know the Schutzen degrees, but I'm not sure what that CD stands for.
How old a dog is this dog?
Well, it'll be 8 weeks in December.
It's a pup.
Yeah.
And he's coming. Were you in Germany?
No, I got this from a registered dealer.
And what did the dealer feature for dogs? Just shepherds?
Yeah, well, it's a very big shepherd.
At 8 weeks.
At 8 weeks.
Well, no.
Not now, but it's, you
Yeah,
mean
I
when it's
seen-
going to
I seen the
maturity.
father.
Yeah. Oh, you've seen the father.
Right.
And what did they use the father for?
Guard dog.
For a guard dog.
It's possible that CD is some type of a guard dog degree that I'm just not familiar with.
What do you intend to do with the dog? Just use him as a guard dog at Conville?
Yep.
Well, I would say you got ample protection.
Well, you know, my brother, you know, helped train a few dogs, you know. So, Bud,
Yeah.
where's all the gray squirrels?
Well, they're all on my front lawn.
Well, I'll come up.
What, do you like squirrels, too?
Hey, I got a Ted Williams, 22 shot.
Oh, you
shot.
have? You better keep it. It's a relic. It's worth money.
That's what I'm trying to find out.
It's a good one. It's a good one. That 22 is a good one.
It's Plinker.
I got it. That's right. It's okay. You got a good one.
Oh,
All right. I
thank
got to
you,
go
Bud.
on here. Got a call from New Brunswick in Canada. Come in. Hello.
Hello, Bud.
How are you?
You're losing your hair.
I'm losing my hair. I should, after
but-
all these years.
Yeah, but I enjoy it.
You enjoy it, do
I've
you?
enjoyed your program for so many years, I'd hate to recall them all.
Well, you got a few years on you, too. Who is this?
This is a retired soldier
All right.
from Moncton, New Brunswick. Anyway, about
What part of New Brunswick you in?
outside of Fredericton.
Well, what do you mean? It's a big country outside of
I
Fred.
know, you're up in the West Coast. You like the Miramichi.
No, I was at the Miramichi just a few days ago.
Let's not go into that. I called because I admire her dogs.
You admire her dogs.
Yes.
Well, that's good. You've said that I'm losing my hair and you admire her dogs. What do you got for a question?
Well, I don't really have a question. I
All
would like to admire her dogs and thank her very much for her
for her
ambition
parents on the program
and putting her
and what they're doing.
life at risk at times
That's correct.
to do this.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the call.
Thanks very much, Bud.
You bet. Good night. Come in, Old Town. What do you have to say?
I have a couple of questions for Jennifer about her training methods. I am sitting here surrounded by retriever types. Do you have any retrievers in your group, number one, and how are you handling your high-rolling younger dog? I have a very fast retriever who's got a great nose.
We have
What breed of retriever?
I have a Labrador who's got a fantastic nose and who's a couch potato now, and I also have a young curly-coated retriever who's very, very fast, and I'm pretty sure she's missing a lot because she is so fast. But she does show a lot of good scent and trailing qualities.
We do have labs in the group. We have a yellow lab who's just a wonderful search dog.
Really?
And he searches just about like Allie does it at full speed. He goes all day long, and it takes a lot to tire that dog. But
Now,
he's
who owns
excellent.
that dog?
Sarah Robinson down in Steuben.
That's the Steuben dog.
Right, that's the Steuben dog. And Keith has a lab cross that he started training as an older dog, which isn't easy. And he's done a remarkable job with her, and she's very good now. And we have a young black lab in training. Gentleman in Harmony, Paul Magoon, has her, and she's doing very well. It's that retrieving instinct. It's the prey drive and the retrieving instinct, the need to gather something back to the handler that is what you work on.
How do you slow them down? You know, so
how do you slow them down? Hang on, Blue Hill. We'll be right with you.
I can't slow Allie down. She has to slow herself down. It's almost like she gets an adrenaline rush, has to run it off, and then she can settle down to do some more refined work. But she never tires either.
Takes a couple of hours to wear her down.
Longer than that.
Does it?
Lloyd Williams and Brewer said she could outlast 2 handlers.
Okay, thank you very much.
You bet. Come in, Blue Hill, and good evening.
Bud, and how are you, Jennifer?
Wonderful.
Thank you. This is Ray Prosser from Blue Hill. I'm 70 years old, but I'd like to share experience with you that when I was about 10 living in Monticello, Maine, me and my 2 brothers were lost in the woods, and we did one faulty thing, which we should never have done. And that was they had the wardens out, they had the state police out, they had searchers out, and we failed to answer them. We were probably less than a mile from home, and we hid ourselves among fir trees and everything else. And I could hear my dad, Sam Prosser, calling, "Ray, where are you? Ray, where are you? I know you're here. I know you're here." We would not answer. We would not answer. And why, I don't know. And I would suggest anyone that hears my voice tonight, if you ever hear anyone calling your name, please answer. That's where I made my mistake. But they did find us the next morning about 10 o'clock, and I'll never, as long as I live, do that again. And I did learn one thing from Warden Supervisor Langdon Chandler. If at all possible, keep your face out so where people can see you and don't hide yourself. And thank you very much, both of you.
Listen, before you go, and I'm sure at age 70, and looking back on that experience, why didn't you respond to your dad's call?
You know, Bud, I cannot truthfully answer that question. I will say this. We went by a
Did you recognize his voice? You knew it was your dad?
Yes, I knew it. And he was probably less than 25 or 30 feet from us, Bud. And we went by to begin with. At night, we were just before dark. We came to a potato field. We picked up some potatoes and ate them from the ground raw. And we went back into the woods. We came to no loggers camp there. We didn't stay that. We kept going in a circle. And what we did was we hid amongst some firs and junipers and whatnot like that to be quiet. And why we didn't answer, I don't know. I'll never know as long as I live.
How old were you then?
Probably 10 years old, Bud.
Mm-hmm.
And if probably if they'd had dogs then, they could have found us. But I will say this. I would suggest to anyone that if you ever get lost, keep your face out in the open and don't wear camouflage clothing or something where they can't find you, because if you do, you're in trouble. We spent a cold night, and that was in the fall, and I was barefoot.
Boy, it's an interesting story, and I appreciate your call very, very much. Boy, that's, man, 70 years old. This is 60 years ago, and to this day, you can't understand why he didn't answer his own dad, he and his brother.
That's not unusual. And when we do the Find a Space, Show Your Face programs in the schools, that's one thing we tell them.
Come in. Where are you calling from?
Acton, Maine. My name's Bob Worrell.
Yes, Bob.
I had a question for Jennifer. I thought I heard her mention that one of the dogs was certified and one wasn't. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you explain what the certification consists of and who does that?
I should have asked that question, and you're right. That's a good question.
Appreciate it.
We have a set of written standards, and we set up tests to test the dog to meet those standards. And Deborah Paulman does the testing of the dogs, and she's one of I think it's 4 people in the state that is recognized as someone who can say a dog is capable of doing the work that it's supposed to be doing or not capable. The Warden Service has our standards on file and a list of the dogs that have met those standards. And once they have passed all the tests that are set up, then we call them certified.
Does that answer you? It must. He hung up. All right, where are you calling from? Good evening.
Kenny Bunk.
Kenny Bunk.
Bud, I have a question.
I thought it was the president. Anybody calls from Kenny Bunk, I expect it's Uncle George.
Well, Uncle George is probably other places right at the moment.
He'd probably much rather be at Kenny Bunk.
Yeah, I'm sure he would, Bud. But about 30 years ago, in around that area, you wrote an article in the Bangor paper about my dog. And my dog was trained by Paul Gentner from Kennebunk.
Sure.
And Paul had him with you up at the Bangor Sportsman Show
That's
at
right.
that time.
Yeah, Paul and his wife.
Yes, Paul and his wife Mary.
Mary is
Now,
right.
you wrote a large article in the Bangor paper about my dog at that time. And I had moved to Vermont, and I came back here to Maine a number of years ago, and I've lost that article, which was a prize article for me. And I really appreciated you writing it because he was just a great dog. And I'm wondering if it's possible that I could ever get a copy of that again.
The only man I know is Charlie Compo, and he's our librarian, and he's a constant viewer, and he lives right nearby, and right now he's saying, that son of a gun.
Yeah.
You know how many years ago? About 30 years ago?
But it had to be 28 to 30 years ago.
I'll tell Charlie right now, while he's watching, you can start looking that up tomorrow morning. Send me a note with your address, and if I have any luck, I'll see that you get a copy of that clipping.
I certainly would appreciate it, Bud.
All right.
And you've got a great show. Just keep it up.
Thank you. All right, we're going to take one more call. Rangeley. How are things in Rangeley?
Things are fine at Rangeley. Wood stove's going, a little cold.
You got the wood stove going?
Yes, sir.
Don't get too much of that wood smoke in the air now. We don't want to pollute the country.
No, sir. I had a question for Jennifer. I have golden retrievers I'm a little proud of, but I was wondering if she had had occasion to use her dogs to aid the Fish and Game Department in apprehension of poachers.
No, these dogs don't do any criminal type work. They use their warden canines. There's one over in the Bethel area, and then Debbie and Aurora.
All righty.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Say hello to everyone in Rangeley.
Yes, sir.
They're great people.
Thank you. We think so. You come up and visit us.
I will. I'll do that. I was over there this summer.
Well, you come up and look for it.
All right, I will.
Thank you.
Ah, boy, this has been fun. You know, if you're interested in dogs, now pay attention. It's your last chance. Here's a book right here. It's all right there, and you can mark the title down. Where are we going, Il? I don't see any. Oh, there it is. Oh, there, boy. Search and Rescue Dogs, right here. Recommended by Jennifer. Here's another, Practical Scent Dogs. Search Dog Training. And I vow that's Jennifer on the cover with a dog, but she says no. And Scent and the Scenting Dog. And here's a video now available. Now, someone mentioned Find a Space and Show Your Face, the man who called from Blue Hill.
Right.
And I cut you off purposely. This is put out for the Fisheries and Wildlife Department. And you know, this is a very, very sensitive time between now and December. We'll have 200,000 plus people either hunting, foliage looking, or what have you, into the woods. Just remember the slogan, find a space and show your face. exactly as the man from Blue Hill pointed out. And if you want further information, because these people do such great work, if you write me, I'll see that they get the mail. But anyway, it's the Maine Search and Rescue Dogs Group, and they're a marvelous group. They have Kate Fleury of Whitneyville, Warden Deborah Paulman, Beth Swartz, she's of Hamden, Sarah Robinson of Steuben, Larry and Mary Winchester of East Holden, and there's Chip Wadsworth and Keith Haverin, he's the secretary and treasurer apparently, at Harborside, Robert Magda of Vassalboro, Paul Magoon of Harmony, John O'Day of Orono. These people are all volunteers. And when you think of the effort that goes in on a search, day in and day out, in Arctic-like weather, beautiful weather, rainy weather, miserable weather, and they do it voluntarily at their own expense. Jennifer, we owe you a lot of thanks.
Thank you. We're one of 20 volunteer search and rescue groups across the state. We just happen to use dogs as our main search tool. But there are a lot of us out there.
Awful good to have you on the program.
It's been very nice.
To open this season. Told you we'd have a good time, didn't I?
Yes.
And we have.
Yes.
Well, next month, we're going to throw in at you. It's going to make you can crank up your questions. In 10 years, it'll be almost 10 years. Remember George Westcott, who was lost so long and came out alive? George Westcott was perhaps the most maligned, most abused, was literally barbecued and served on a platter in newspapers all over Maine, all over Boston and elsewhere. But he came out alive and he proved he was not a phony. He's never appeared publicly to answer any of these questions and accusations thrown in his direction. He's coming up from Tiverton, Rhode Island, and he'll be with me on this program for 1 hour the night of November 7th. You'll have an opportunity to ask your own questions of this man, and he'll give you the answers. For Jennifer Applegate and our crew here of Woods and Waters, thank you very much, and I'll see you next month.
Along